There we go. Funky. Few nice chords in there as well. So anyway, this is Adam Goldsmith, everybody. Welcome in to the Peach Studio today. Adam, I think you first came into the shop sort of 2007, 2008 sort of time.
Yeah.
That's when we first met.
When I was 5.
When I was 5 and I was 6.
Yeah.
That could be a song, couldn't it? But anyway, right, I digress. That was through, we met through Robbie Albury, who was buying lots of Dr. Z's, and you followed suit as well. And then everybody else started buying Dr. Z's, didn't they? So you was working on the Hairspray show.
That's right, yeah.
You know, what I wanted to talk to Adam about today was, you know, we've been talking earlier about the rise or the rebirth, as it was, of the session guitar sound and the whole kind of like a session experience, and the sort of tone that you was playing with there is kind of totally back in fashion again, isn't it?
It is, yeah, which is brilliant.
You know, we were saying earlier that that sort of tone had been shelved for quite a few years.
Yeah, I got banned from using chorus pedals for about 15 years.
But it just sounds so great with that bit of chorus on there and stuff.
The
chorus, the compression and stuff. Also, what we wanted to talk about was we are now I think we're the only dealer in the UK and maybe one of the only ones in Europe that carries the full range of Suhr guitars, Tom Anderson guitars, and also Tyler guitars. So we wanted to use this as an opportunity to show off the big three in kind of a session kind of format, and just go through a few different sounds and just kind of see how Adam kind of would dial in or feel inspired by the pedals that we've got. So with a guitar like this, and using the setting that we've got there, that is a particular setting that Rich Renken at Tyler told me about, was a very, very similar setting to the Billie Jean kind of tone that they used on the rhythm guitar for that. So do you want to do something maybe in the style of that, or just whatever comes to mind?
Well, I guess it's that sort of, there's a...
Nice.
Not a load of rubbish.
No, I think that sound, I think a lot of people think it's just like position 2 on the Strat.
Right.
You know, like just the bridge pickup and the middle pickup on at the same time. But we've actually got quite a lot going on here with this guitar. So the preamp is on with the guitar, but the mid boost isn't engaged effectively. So it still has that preamp on without the mid boost, but we're actually running all 3 pickups with the middle pickup in parallel. So all the switching going on, basically everything that this guitar can do, albeit that little mid boost control, is on. I just want to compare that tone that we had there now to the sound that people probably think it would normally be. So if we go into that position there and play that sound now.
Very different, isn't it?
Very different. It doesn't quite have that hollow kind of honky sort of sound to it. It was more percussive before, wasn't it? It's still a great sound, but what I did there was changed from the Billie Jean preset, as it were, right through to just a regular position 2 sound on the guitar. I mean, these guitars, as you can see, with all this switching and all the preamp and all that kind of stuff, you can get kind of, you know, pretty much any kind of tone out of it. Should we try and dial in like a more of a bluesier sort of overdrive sort of sound? So if we go
you'll have to do. I don't know how this works.
So basically, all you've got to worry about is just that. Yeah, just the volume control and your 5-way switch.
Right.
Everything is now set like a regular.
This is a regular
HSS guitar. Yeah.
I'll leave you to. Well, we'll get rid of the compression. Just put this. What's this? Blues Power.
Yeah, from King Tone. So it's just a nice low gain overdrive. The chorus is still on.
Oh, that's on. I've never used any of these pedals just for the benefit.
No.
Fine. Yeah.
Well, if I thought you know, I can put anyone on the spot, unfortunately it's you. So sorry, mate.
pedal. I like that.
Yeah, it's nice. You did say not to let you buy anything today while you was here. So
yeah, that was my one condition of
that
being
one
here.
condition. Yeah. Well, that's just great tone, isn't it? There straight away, completely different to what we've had already.
Yeah.
Let's try that bridge humbucker now. Maybe a little bit more gain.
Right.
You want to go with the
so
right?
this is the Suhr right. So is that's like a Marshally kind of thing?
Something like like a modded Marshall. In
Yeah. Really loud in here.
Awesome, amazing. That sounds great. The thing I've always loved about Adam's playing as well is like you do all the fancy, intricate stuff, but you still rock when you need to. You're still digging super hard, and I can really relate to that sort of stuff. It sounds killer. So, as you can hear, with a few kind of just like slight tweaks on the guitar, some different pedals and stuff like that, you can get so many different kind of sounds out of the rig. We've got four pedals going into the front, well, one of which if you want to include the tuner, and then we've got a chorus, a delay, and a reverb in the loop, just running things nice and clean. So how would you approach like a session from when you need to go into it knowing that you need a good clean, a crunch and a lead sound? Would you take a guitar like this, a HSS guitar?
Yeah, I do. I mean, to a large extent, there's a lot of variables, basically. So the big one, obviously, if you know the style of music that you're doing, that's the big one. Also, who you're working for is a big one. So I can give you a couple of examples. So I did an album a few weeks ago, and we were in Abbey Road Studios in Studio 2, which is where the Beatles recorded. It's got the Lady Madonna piano and all that. It's amazing. But I was working for a guy called Gus Borman, who's he normally uses, he's based in LA, but so he normally uses Tim Pierce and Dean Parks, I think, and those kind of guys over there. So he got lumbered with me over here. But the point being is that a lot of the time the Americans want all the guitars. Yeah. So I think I must have had 30, 35 guitars there. They want them all, and I think I probably used two.
Well, I saw all the pictures you posted on Instagram. You had loads of amps and different pedals. And
they want everything because they got the budget as well. It's a big Latin artist, and they got the budget, and we were there for a week, and it was fabulous. That being said, sometimes like I did a session this Saturday night. It was a film session for a composer called Alan Silvestri, who's a big, I think he's probably won Oscars and big film composer. And they sent me the track, and I could hear the sound, and it was a Strat. There was just a few sort of James Bondy. So I still took my Tyler just in case. But I used a guitar that I bought from you, the Suhr.
The classic, the white one. Just sometimes find that you just wanted like a little bit more of the twang out of the single coil.
Well, the thing is, a lot of the time people have expectations as to what guitars sound like, and it's always a classic guitar. So you've obviously got a Strat, you've got a Telecaster, you've got a Les Paul, those kind of things. So I 99% of the time will take my Tyler. This is not mine. This is your lovely machine. So I've got the Dan Huff spec one. And I take that, always take it, but I also take something
just bare, but like a straight up,
straight up,
like a classic,
3 single coil Strat, because it's the sound which a lot of people hear when they want a guitar. The only thing is, with that, I will take the Suhr that I got from you over. I've got a 64, it's a refin, but it's a real one. And I don't use it that much because it's noisy.
And plus, like the Suhr, it's like a favourite pair of slippers, isn't it? It's just so easy to play. The tune stability, no hum or anything like that.
And to be honest, the sound difference.
Well, the pickups in that were the original pickups that Mike Landau had approved. So
he knows what he's doing.
In terms of Strat tones, that's a man that kind of knows, isn't it?
He certainly does.
And then if you do like I know you do like some like remote work where you'll just play like some some parts on a track and send it back. Would you just use something like an amp sim or that kind of thing?
A lot of the time, to be honest, they've got so good these days. And I've got a nice relationship with the Fractal Audio people. So I've put a lot of effort into programming that, and it sounds great. I mean, still, if I go to Abbey Road or Air Studios or somewhere like that, I'd still take my amps.
Yeah.
Because the rooms are so good and the mics are so good and the engineers are so brilliant that they can really bring that out of the amps. Whereas me with my old 57, I might as well just...
I know, you might as well just use the fractal.
Use the amps in,
just keep it nice and simple.
Absolutely,
Yeah, no, great. Well, I think what we should probably do now is, on the subject of Suhr, let's grab that one now. We've got a Suhr Classic Antique now.
I've got a soft spot for the Suhrs. I think that they've really nailed the old school, like the vibe of the older guitars, but the conveniences of the modern. I mean, I think we all know that by now, don't they? But I think they're amazing.
Maybe that will change when we get the Tom Anderson out in a bit. So. There's like a lot of air between the notes, isn't there? You can hear all the separation, can't you?
Get that clean.
Yeah, let's get the pressure on. Go!
Oh yeah.
Nice. Very, very different though, isn't it? It's like when you had the blues power on at the start, that was where that guitar lives for me. That was just the tone. I mean, it still did that really nice clean stuff there as well, but I can really hear the difference between the Tyler and the Suhr so far. That's got more of a... It's so hard to describe. It just, like, it even made you play differently. When you had the blues power on, you was digging in harder, because I think it kind of felt a lot more at home and had those sort of dynamics that really suited the blues power and that kind of crunch to it. It was almost like when you was playing... I mean, I know you can EQ it out and all that kind of stuff anyway, but in comparison to when you was going for the studio sound, as it were, it was almost like too beefy, like too... like. I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure you could dial it out, but like that's where I think that Tyler is just like is super mega for that stuff as well. But as a straight up rock and roller, then the Suhr's got that in spades, doesn't it? It's absolutely killer. So
I mean, I think that I've been like on a fruitless quest to try and find one guitar that does everything for literally since I've known you for a long time, and the thing which I keep coming back to is you've got to have a vibe. It's got to make you go,
dig into it. Yeah, it's funny how you see, you know, even someone like you're a pro that's paid to play guitar and record, you know, and a lot of people just say, oh yeah, it's just a tool for a job. But it's amazing how different when I see you play different guitars. You just like go into like the zone, don't you, for a specific kind of sound. Even when we're looking at like 3 amazing HSS guitars, they're just taking us off in kind of different directions.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you're just inspired to do the right thing with it straight away, aren't you? So let's hear what the bridge humbucker sounds like maybe as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So if we go to maybe the Riot again.
Okay.
it's got all that just rocks out as well, doesn't it? It's definitely yeah. Pardon. Yeah, definitely for me, the clean's mega, but when you had the blues power and then onto the right, that's where
they got a vibe. It's a great guitar.
Yeah, and like you know, the majority of people, you know, I guess most of the time when you're playing a guitar like that, are going to be sitting on like their neck pickup, breakup sounds, or moving into the more kind of the right direction. I think the Tylers again, and sorry to repeat myself, but it just seems like it's so at home for that clean, compressed, like and works great with processors and stuff as well. So I'd be interested to see maybe now if we plug in the Anderson, kind of see where that sits, between the two guitars. So let's try that next.
Great.
So next up, we've got a Tom Anderson Icon Classic. So I'm just going to let you kind of play your way through it, dial in some different tones and just go from there, Adam.
All right, okay, cool. So I'll start with neck pickup, see what... I've never played this guitar before, so we'll see what happens. Another great guitar.
I think, and to me, that definitely sits in between the Suhr and the Tyler.
Right.
It's, it's really quite percussive when you play it clean, but it was actually really kind of digging in quite nicely when you was on those gainier sounds. As well. Yeah. I mean,
but they're all amazing.
Yeah, well, that was what we were saying, just off camera. It was like, how could you moan about owning like any of these guitars?
If there's a problem, it's not the guitar.
No. And sometimes that's a difficult conversation to have with yourself.
Absolutely, yeah.
We were talking earlier, how, the session scene has kind of developed in comparison, even to like in the early 80s, like the guitars that the guys in LA were probably playing then were nothing like anywhere near the quality of like what this sort of stuff is, because they probably would have been like 70s or maybe some 60s Strats that had been cut up and changed around and stuff like that. But all of these guys, like Tyler, Tom Anderson, John Suhr, what they've done for the electric guitar and the market, and the way that they've, just constantly redefined this particular shape and the T-styles and all that kind of stuff. But they can all exist at the same time, can't they? I don't think like you look at these three brands together, and anybody, any good session guitarist or gigging guy could own any one of these guitars and just be absolutely over the moon. You wouldn't need anything different, don't they?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, on paper they're quite similar, but they're actually not at all.
On paper, they're all pretty similar, aren't they? But as you can hear throughout the the three different guitars when we've played and through the different tones, they kind of all excel in different areas, don't they, as well?
I think you were right when you said this one's kind of, it feels like it's in the middle of the other two. It sort of does. I mean, they are all amazing. I think with the difference when you're talking about like the 80s maybe late 70s, 80s session guys when that kind of style was really coming about. The big difference is now is a lot of the time we get paid to try and sound like them, whereas they came up with that.
Yeah,
you know, that's the big difference. You know, if I go, say, I always use it as a good example, but when I did the Voice, I did the first 3 years of the Voice when it was on the BBC, and so you're spending your whole time trying to sound like those guys. That was like my day job, was trying to get those sounds, you know. Whereas when they were doing it, it was like, I've just come up with this new thing. So there were no sort of wrong answers for them, really.
And it's amazing. I bet like the signal chains, like back in at that time when they were coming up with those sounds, were just like, you know, unbelievable. Whereas now you can just get a pedal and just like, yeah, we're pretty much there. That's the sound.
There's no excuses anymore.
No,
there's no excuses.
No, and those guys were like, you know, real pioneers, weren't they? And getting those different sounds out of those guitars. You know, it's funny, you know, because when you do, I love listening to like some of those isolated guitar track things, and like when you do listen to some of those early '80s things,
some of them are terrible.
They're awful. But as soon as it's like pushed up into the fader and it's in with a mix, you're like, oh wow, what a great guitar sound.
Yeah. There's a really interesting thing which people don't talk about too much in when you're playing on somebody's recording. A lot of it's especially with songs, not so much with film soundtracks and things, because it's kind of a different approach. But if you're playing on somebody's song, you have to listen to the EQ space that the other instruments are taking up.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a big thing, is people don't always think about that. They think, oh, that's a great sound in isolation, but it might not actually work.
No, it might have too much low end or something like that.
Exactly. So if you've got these three guitars, they all might sound right for one environment. It doesn't make one better than the other, you know. But so you have to listen to what you're playing over. If you're overdubbing, like, oh, there's a lot of, you know, if
there's already loads of low end.
If there's loads of low end or like Rhodes or something which is taking up your space, you have to find a different space.
Yeah, you know?
Find
something that's very going to cut through. Yeah,
100%,
in a particular frequency. I mean, there's just so many different tones that you can get, you know, out of a HSS guitar like this. You know, you're hearing just a few different pedals. You know, on kind of, you know, we've used the same settings, but each of these guitars all sound completely different. And it's just really inspiring to see you play so differently on them all as well. So it's like the guitar is definitely inspiring you to get some different kind of sounds. But if I was going to put you on the spot and say, come on, which one are you going to walk out with today? Which one would it be? That's coming in video too. Wow. No, only joking.
Okay. I've got to say, I've got a soft spot for Suhrs.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're all. This is like impossible. It's like which type of gold bar would you like?
Yeah,
you know,
choosing your favourite child. Yeah, exactly. Mind you, that's a bit easier sometimes.
that after last night, I'll tell you that's different. But I think, to be honest, it's probably the cheapest. The Suhr.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I think maybe the Suhr. I think they've got a thing for me. They're all amazing. Like if you gave me one of these guitars, maybe you will.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Maybe Nigel from Suhr will.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah. If you gave me any of them, I'd be like...
You'd be and you've owned all of like these guitars.
I've got. I haven't had a Tom Anderson Strat, but I've had a Tom Anderson. It was like it's called a Shorty or something, which I wish I hadn't sold. Yeah. But you know,
was that like a Telecaster style or?
It was halfway between a Tele and a Les Paul kind of thing. I think it was mahogany.
Oh, that would have been.
But it looked like
maybe a Cobra or something like that.
Yes, it was a Cobra.
2 humbuckers.
Yeah. It was a cool guitar. I don't know why I got rid of it. But anyway, different story.
But it was when no one wanted that session guitar sound.
No one wanted that. No one's ever. I mean, the thing is, the two things that people don't want are solos. Like, never play solos. Like, I can count them on one hand the amount of solos I've had to play on recordings. It's always rhythm, or a lot of acoustic guitar on films. Yeah. You know. But yeah. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I think Suhrs, they got a thing for me.
Yeah, they've definitely got. To me, he's kind of taken a vintage Strat and kept it as close as possible, but just put the few extra tweaks on that just make it more reliable for like a modern player. Yeah, and like you know, whenever I hear anyone play like a guitar like that, it just brings back like the that Mike Landau kind of vibes. And I know he's used a lot of these different brands and stuff, but to me, I think his peak time was potentially with the Suhrs. It's only because I'm just like I really love that the Raging Honkies, that sort of era, that sort of stuff. And I know he used the Suhrs around that time, but he probably made more of a name for himself when he was playing, you know, all of his Tyler modded guitars and stuff. So what do I know? It's just a personal preference.
Yeah,
isn't it?
well,
It's
it all
the
is.
same.
It all is.
You know,
isn't
when
it?
you try all these guitars out, and the whole point of this is when you come into Peach and you try one of these guitars out, it's great that we've got all of these different guitars that you can compare. And if you come in with, you know, an open mind and you just want a great HSS guitar, we're going to have a guitar basically that's going to.
I mean,
tick all the boxes,
the biggest
hopefully.
Guitar shop I've ever seen in my life. It's got most stuff. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, you know, my accountant keeps saying, you've got to get that stock number down, get that stock number down. And like,
No, well,
that's what I'm trying to do, but, you know, that is the point. But, you know, we've got to have all this cool stuff to get everyone in. So,
yeah.
But in terms of like, what kind of stuff are you doing at the moment, playing-wise, in terms of like, actual work rather than playing styles or whatever? What are you currently working on? Because I know you just did the Albert Hall stuff, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I've been on tour with a British soul singer called Beverly Knight, she's incredible.
Was it a big anniversary for her birthday or?
Yeah, well, we did the first time. She was 50.
Yeah.
The tour is called 50, so she won't mind me saying that.
No,
you know?
okay.
Although, so she's a little bit older than me, but she looks about 20 years younger than me, which is really irritating.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's amazing.
Hate
So
we
did the second half of the tour, which we started this year, and we culminated at the Albert Hall, and then we went on, did some things in Europe, and so her, and then this week I've got on back at the Albert Hall with this the BBC.
Oh, no,
Not Dave Gilmour, no. The BBC is kind of Philadelphia soul. So Bev singing, Roachford, Tony Monreal, so great. Some more soul stuff. All rhythm guitar, which is great.
And what kind of rig would you use for that sort?
Well, this week we're using the Fractal.
Yeah.
Because there's 3 guitar players, it's all in ears, because we've got an orchestra, it's the BBC Concert Orchestra, so there's the orchestra, so they're going to complain. There's no way I could turn up with the 2 rock.
Yeah, you get an eviction notice immediately.
Well, all the string players wouldn't be very happy about that.
Yeah, no, awesome.
So we got that, and then my day job is a West End show, Starlight Express.
Yeah.
So, and I've got Suhr, HSS.
And are you using the 2 rock on that?
No, that's the Fractal as well.
Fractal on that as well.
Yeah. So big studios. It is amps usually because of the quality. So Abbey Road, I always take my 2 rock, which I bought off you again, didn't I? Yeah. But a lot of the time I use the Fractal as well. It's an FM9. Yeah,
FM9. And I know you from following you and stuff like that in the past, you're quite brutal with your gear. You get through stuff quite quickly, but that seems to have. Like the Fractal stuff
really
has seemed
good.
to have
and
lived
people,
for,
the thing
for
is,
a while.
Yes, sorry. So the thing is about that stuff is that I went through all of them because I realised it's the thing that people are going to ask for. I resisted it for so long, so I bought them all. Yeah. Basically.
Yeah, because you had Kempers.
I've had all of them. I've had all of them, and that I settled on that one. Yeah. You do need a pilot's license to work it, so
why do you think it's more of a feel thing that you like it, or is it?
It feels more ampy.
Yeah,
to me, it's got more. Again, I hate to just say the word vibe because it's not very helpful. No. But it does have a bit more air and a bit vibe, and it feels a bit looser. To me. Yeah.
And that's what you've got to have fun. Especially when you're playing with in-ears as well, the sound's got to be even more dialed in, hasn't it, for you to get the most enjoyment out of it as well?
Yeah. It's an interesting process though, because we're off topic a bit, but with the in-ears, so with something like the Fractal or a Kemper or whatever, you don't really know what you sound like.
No,
because you're relying on
someone else all the time.
Yeah. So my in-ears, because obviously they've got an EQ curve, it's going to sound totally different to somebody else's in-ears. So
someone else might be like,
they might be like, oh, there's loads of trouble because the curve on there is. So it's very difficult. The great thing about an amp is you can go, okay, that's what I sound like. Yeah. So if you've got a rented twin, and I've got my King and Tone pedal, I know what I sound like. Yeah. But it's a bit more.
There was a lot more kind of different degrees of complications, isn't there?
It's the whole thing. Yeah.
The whole point of all of these things is to try and make it more simple, but it opens up a different can of worms, doesn't it?
Yeah. Is he like, do I want to change the digital, virtual reality valves in there or something? It's like, not really, no.
You got, that is a rabbit hole that I just won't go down, because I like all of this stuff, you know, but
it's so good.
I just like getting in here and turning it all up, and option paralysis is not a good thing for me, because I spend 5 minutes playing and 2 hours tweaking. So.
Well, that's another thing I was finding, like with sessions, a lot of the time, you'll turn up and once they're happy with, say it's a film, right? We do a lot of the films over here. A lot of the big American films get made here for various reasons. A lot of the time, you'll pick up an electric guitar, and they'll, if they're happy with the sound, you'll end up sticking with that one. So you can take 20 guitars, and you still say you got one of these guitars. You'll just play it for the whole session.
Yeah. I mean, a guitar like that, any of these ones for the majority of gigs. Maybe not like a full-on jazz gig or something like that, but pretty much, I'm guessing with any of these guitars, you could probably do like 90% of your gigs with anyway, couldn't you?
Well, the stuff that you've set up for today, I think I could have probably done my entire career with that.
Because I love seeing you play on like when you've been testing out amps and stuff here, and you play on like a 335. Because you definitely go off into a different direction then, tonally. So, different guitars. It's amazing how they kind of inspire you so much. And even playing, 3 of the same guitar, as it were, it was just so cool to see you playing in a different way on them all as well. So,
but anyway, different wrong notes.
Yeah, different wrong notes. But if you play them twice, it's jazz, right?
Yeah, that's how it works.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I could sit and speak to Adam all day, and I know you're a busy man. You've got stuff to do as well. But, maybe we could do a part 2. If anyone's got any questions for Adam or any feedback on this, or want to know anything else, please let us know. And thanks again for watching. And Adam, thanks for your time, mate.
Oh, you're
Much
welcome.
appreciated.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.